Yet there was one elite unit that even the Romans eventually deemed too cruel for their own legions. They spent 3 centuries perfecting it, only to order its total, systematic eradication. The problem emerged in the dense forests of Gaul and Germania. The Roman military relied on strict, static infantry formations, but those shield walls were being shattered by the sheer, chaotic impact of 80-kilogram barbarian mastiffs crashing into the front lines. Domesticating wild dogs wasn't a viable counter-strategy. Roman military doctrine required absolute precision, and a wild animal fighting on pure instinct could break a formation as easily as the enemy. The generals needed a weapon that functioned with the unthinking obedience of a legionnaire. To defeat the wild, Rome decided to play God. They would engineer a new biological entity, a creature possessing the savagery of an apex predator, but the programmable discipline of a machine. Under General Sulla, the military launched a massive research and development project. They dedicated 200 talents of gold, a budget capable of feeding an entire city for years, to a relentless 3-generation selective breeding program. This diagram shows the specific genetic blueprint they designed. They merged the massive size of the Greek molossus with the raw muscular strength of Tibetan mastiffs and the predatory cunning of European wolves. The result was a standardized 70-kilogram weapon known as the Canis Pugnax. These animals were classified military technology. The breeding program was hidden from the general public and managed exclusively by specialized engineers called Canis artificers, who tracked bite force and compliance with the same precision as legionary armories. By standardizing physical traits and psychological profiles, the Roman military turned biology into military hardware, mass-producing a living weapon that bridged the gap between nature and technology. The programming began at birth under the Canis Magistri. Puppies were starved for days and then forced to attack wounded prisoners in the arena, hardwiring a psychological link where human flesh was a food source strictly tied to obedience. In combat, these dogs didn't just bite wildly, they were surgically trained to target specific human vital points. They focused on the groin, the neck, and major joints, severing primary arteries to cause fatal hemorrhaging in under 2 minutes. To coordinate these attacks in the chaos of battle, the military developed an auditory command system. The dogs operated in squad formations, executing wedges or pincers based entirely on specific numerical horn blasts. To prevent friendly fire, the handlers used scent-lock conditioning. Enemy uniforms were soaked in blood and presented to the dogs during training, teaching them to automatically distinguish between Celtic or Germanic targets and protected Roman soldiers. Through systematic conditioning, Rome overwrote millions of years of animal instinct, creating a biological unit that executed violence with the cold precision of a scalpel. Rome equipped these predators with the Lorica Canina, a custom-forged 15-kilogram bronze armor system designed to protect the animal's vitals without compromising its agility. The armor included offensive hardware integrated directly into the plating. 5-centimeter spiked bronze collars protected the neck while functioning as weapons, and curved blades were attached to the front paws to shred leather armor on impact. This schematic shows the advanced engineering of the sacrificial plates. These bronze sections were designed to absorb the kinetic energy of a fatal blow and shatter off the dog, keeping the animal underneath intact and operational. By physically bolting military-grade weaponry onto a genetically perfected predator, Rome created an armored battlefield Terminator that had no equal in ancient warfare. The efficacy of the program was tested during Rome's greatest military disaster, the Teutoburg forest ambush. As the Germanic tribes descended, 20,000 highly trained legionnaires panicked and broke formation in the swampy, enclosed terrain. While human order collapsed, the dogs executed their programming. 300 Canis Pugnax instinctively formed defensive perimeters around the survivors and fought for 72 hours straight without a single human command. Historical accounts detail the dogs' unyielding loyalty, noting that they continued to attack even after losing limbs and refused to abandon the bodies of their dead handlers. At Teutoburg, the R&D project reached its zenith. Rome had engineered a soldier whose discipline and loyalty far surpassed the breaking point of any human being. But the biological programming contained a fatal flaw. The dogs were addicted to combat. Without active enemies to kill, or strict feeding routines during long campaigns, their psychological conditioning began to fracture. During the siege of Alesia, a starving pack turned on their own camp, killing 23 sleeping Roman soldiers before they were put down. In response, Rome was forced to invent a desperate failsafe: remote punishment collars with internal spikes. These were used to inflict immediate, paralyzing pain to stop dogs from hunting their own men. This took a profound psychological toll on human veterans. Hardened centurions reported severe trauma, deeply disturbed by watching their own weapons systematically torture and devour living prisoners. The weapon was breaking the minds of the men who wielded it, proving that engineering absolute, unfeeling violence eventually destroys the creator. Internal disgust eventually led to mutiny. As Christianity rose within the empire, entire Roman units began refusing to deploy what they called demonic dogs against civilian targets. In 325 AD, Emperor Constantine issued a decree ordering the total empire-wide extermination of the Canis Pugnax. The end of the program was a theatrical display of violence. Over 800 surviving war dogs were rounded up and forced to fight each other to the death in public arenas as a purification ritual for the empire. Rome successfully turned their biology into machinery, only to realize that the resulting level of programmable cruelty was a horror that even the world's most brutal empire couldn't endure. The Canis Pugnax had become a weapon so lethal and so indiscriminate that its existence threatened the very identity of the men who created it.